Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reacting to Breaking Bad, the value of human life. This is like probably like an analysis, I'm assuming, of like a Breaking Bad, um, of the value of human life. If y'all haven't seen Breaking Bad, um, probably shouldn't watch this video. Probably should just leave a like, watch the show, come back, and then watch it. But yeah, man. Breaking Bad, probably one of the greatest shows, if not the greatest show ever created of all time. And yeah, let's get it.
You understood what I've just said to you.
Yes. Lung cancer. Inoperable.
From the very first episode of AMC's Breaking Bad, Walter White is faced with his own mortality. There's no escape, there's no hope. It's just a death sentence. But life is always terminal. Death is unavoidable. Yet it is only when given an official deadline that he begins to reassess the value of his own life. In some ways, Walter realizes that death is nothing to fear if you were never really living to begin with, just surviving. His family are tight on money. He feels disrespected in school, undervalued in the public eye. He has allowed himself to be caged by the limitations of his imagination and bound by his moral compass. And now he has to ask himself, what good did any of that do him if it led him to here? Breaking Bad is one of the greatest television series ever made.
I said that. Probably the greatest television series ever made.
That goes without question, but part of the reason it works so well thematically is the questions it poses about the value of human life. The threat of death, the fight for survival, is present in every scene. You are always right on the edge. There are turning points in each season which highlight this theme consistently. In Season 1, after facing up to his own mortality, Walt makes the conscious decision to secretly cook meth to make money for his family, showing that he will now do anything to survive. He doesn't tell his family about his illness and goes out to the desert with Jesse, but due to Jesse's past transgressions, trouble arrives, and Walt is faced with the possibility of being killed and left in the desert. For Walt and Jesse, the decision to take another human life usually passes through two filters. The first filter is pragmatic. Do I need to do this? Usually this will come down to self-preservation. Is it them or me? Can this person be negotiated with? Typically they are forced into a position that they borderline must.
They always kill that motherfucker. Got it. And honestly, if you're living a life like that, it sounds fucked up, but it's like, no matter what situation it is, pretty much, especially when you're this big of a fucking drug kingpin, it's them or me, and it's, probably 100% of the time it's gonna be them. You know what I'm saying? It's getting smoked, but because you can't. If you watch the show, this isn't spoilers. I feel bad if I'm kind of spoiling, but like I said, if you haven't watched this, probably shouldn't be watching it. But fucking yeah.
Do it, or either go to jail or be killed.
If you watch, that Walt doesn't take any chances of getting caught, and that's what works so well, and the reason why he gets as far as he does.
Case, Walt fears for his life, so poisons Crazy 8 and Emilio. But in Breaking Bad's world, actions always have consequences. Taking a human life is not something that is done lightly, nor is it a problem that simply goes away. The original decision felt justified, but now, despite Emilio dying, Crazy 8 is still clinging to life, but now has damaged lungs, mirroring Walt's own lung disease. Jesse and Walt are now faced with having to dispose of Emilio's body, which is far from easy, always underlining how costly, messy, and difficult it is to take a human life. But Crazy 8 is chained up in the basement, and Walt now has to pass through the second filter, which centers around morality. Could I live with myself? Now that the immediate threat of being killed is gone, the justification for taking a life becomes harder. Walt struggles to decide if he is capable of such an action, looking for any way out.
I sure as hell am looking for any reason not to. I mean, any good reason at all. Sell me.
This is before he became Heisenberg, because Heisenberg, it's not even a question. He's dead.
Tell me what it is.
In this same episode,
Right here,
Walt
he's still
sees
a
an
good guy.
ultrasound of his unborn baby, reminding him of the value of human life, making his decision even harder. He begins to emotionally connect to him, recognizing a common humanity in him, as he learns that he doesn't eat the crusts on his sandwiches. These little details increase the value of his life to Walt, as he feels more and more like a person than a threat. Walt is about to let him go, as he has managed to convince himself that he does not need to do this, and therefore he could not live with himself. But then he discovers there is a missing shard from the smashed plate. This means Walt now has no choice but to kill him, as it is either him or me, and given Crazy 8's deception, Walt will be able to live with himself. But taking a life is never easy. There is always a pure fight for survival where you can feel how much the person wants to live. In Season 2, Walt loses trust in Jesse once he starts using heroin with his new girlfriend Jane, posing similar questions to Walt sleepwalking through his own life. In Breaking
Can't trust a junkie. Can't trust a fucking junkie, man. And that's no disrespect to anyone out there who's actually a junkie or addicted, because addiction's hard and that shit's crazy. But I mean, most of them I probably could agree, and you know, especially like something like this, you can't ever trust no junkie. I've learned that firsthand in my personal life, man. I don't fucking none of that.
Bad, the consumption of drugs devalues a person's life, as they are not demonstrating enough of a will to survive, and as such, if you do not value your own life, why should anyone else?
We were on call, you junkie. On call for the biggest deal of our lives. That and your little junkie girlfriend.
Walt tries to protect Jesse by not giving him the $480,000 that he owes him. But once Jane gets wind of this, she blackmails Walt, threatening to tell the police and his family. Yet again, there is a thematic continuity, as this is the same episode where Walt's daughter Holly is born. So Walt is reminded of the value and innocence of human life. Before going to Jesse's home, he unknowingly meets Jane's father that night.
This is fucked up, man. This part's fucked up.
Who was doing anything to try and save his daughter from drugs earlier in the same episode.
You have been clean for 18 months, Jane. Why? Why do you do it?
When Walt sneaks into Jesse's room that night and tries to wake him from his drug-induced coma, he rolls Jane over by accident, and she chokes on her own vomit in her sleep. Walt is now solely responsible for saving Jane's life, and he could do it so easily. Jesse values Jane more than anything. Her father values her life more than anything. But for Walt, who now plays the ultimate decider, he has to filter through the same questions. Do I need to do this? He does not need to do it. But in that moment, Walt weighs up the pros and cons in his head quickly, just like he did on paper in Season 1. Their combined drug habit could kill Jesse. She could tell the police or his family. She's nothing but a burden to him. Could I live with myself? That answer is murky, as he is not actively killing her. The will to save her is just not there, and her will to survive is not strong enough, so he lets her slip away. But the troubling moral ambiguity of Walt's decision now introduces new elements to the show. Taking a life now demands a third filter. How will this affect their loved ones? Jesse is emotionally destroyed by Jane's death, and her father is so distraught that he slips up at his job of air traffic controller, resulting in 167 innocent passengers dying. Actions always have unintended consequences. Jane may have meant nothing to Walt, but she meant a lot to her loved ones, and her death dramatically affects her community. In Season 3, Gus begins to view Walt and Jesse's untrustworthiness as a needless risk and burden, so he brings in Gale to learn Walt's cooking methods. This will erase Walt's life's value and allow Gus to dispose of him as he knows.
Gale was a smart man, but he should have seen what was coming, man. Gale fucked up, not knowing. He had the book smarts. He had a lot. He was brilliant, but not. You just didn't have that awareness, you know.
No longer needs him. Walt doesn't hate Gale, there is a mutual respect there, but it is now him or me, so he passes through Filter 1 easily. For Filter 2, Walt implores Jesse to take Gale's life.
I saved your life. Jesse, are you gonna save mine?
But Jesse is not built like Walt. He doesn't have it in him to take a human life.
I can't do it, Mr. White.
We're given a window into Gale's home, showing us some of his passions and habits, increasing Gale's value in the audience's mind, as we begin to share a common humanity. But Walt is not given the chance to kill Gale, and as he balances on the razor's edge of death, orders Jesse to do it now.
Do it fast! Do it, Jesse! Do it!
In the urgency of the moment, Jesse's pragmatic side takes over, but when he arrives at the door, Gale doesn't make it easy for someone like Jesse. He looks weak, vulnerable. He begs. Jesse betrays his second filter, as he values Walt more than he values his ability to live with himself in that moment. In Season 4, the theme of quality of life resurfaces. After Gus risks his own life to poison all of his rivals, he reminds Hector that the Salamanca name will die with him, as his entire family is now dead. So as Walt and Jesse desperately try to figure out a way to kill Gus to save their own lives, Hector becomes the solution. At that time, his life has no real purpose or meaning, as he cannot speak or walk. He can
This man is a fucking walking fucking shit machine. Just fucking shits everywhere he goes. That's his life purpose.
only sit and wait for death to come. Gus, like always, breezes through Filter 1 and 2, but he did not value Filter 3 enough, and as a consequence of his actions, Hector now values taking Gus's life away from him more than he values his own survival, which negates all other considerations. In Season 5, Hank discovers that Walt is Heisenberg, and after a shootout, his life hangs in the balance. Walt has spent the entire series valuing money and power, but Hank is family, and family overrides everything. Although he does need Hank gone, he could not live with himself, and the consequences of Hank being killed would destroy everything for him. So he offers all of his money to Jack to save Hank.
No, listen! I have money! 80 million. And all you've got to do is let him go.
Just like Jane's father valued her more than anything, in sharp contrast to Walt, each life's value is in the eye of the beholder. To Walt, he now values Hank's life at $80 million. But Walt doesn't realize that he's no longer dealing with businessmen who share the same code as him. Walt thinks everyone can be reasoned with, that money's pragmatic value can be exchanged for life, as that is always how it's worked for him so far. A simple trade. I'm willing to give this to you in exchange for that. But now he's dealing with a different breed of person, and without any filters at all, they're willing to take both. Hank is killed, and Walt's world crumbles before his eyes. Everything he has worked for has been stolen, except for one barrel of cash, and he is directly responsible for Hank's death. The barrels of cash are dug up, and Hank and Gomez's bodies are dumped in the same hole, that location's coordinates now symbolizing where Walt's deepest sins are buried. The consequences of his career are no longer barrels of cash, but the death and destruction of innocent lives. Hank's death is the undoing of everything, as his loved ones are Walt's loved ones, so this affects everyone he values. He loses his position as husband, father, and brother-in-law in an instant, now a source of fear, not love. He is no longer Walter White. He is now viewed only as Heisenberg. In the show's final episode, Walt takes care of his affairs, attempting to in some way right his wrongs. At 52, his life on the run with no family, no business, and only money has no value. The only good he can contribute is to take out his greatest enemies and to save someone's life that he values more than his own, echoing Hector's choice from season 4. Walt is left to die, surrounded by the only thing he loves that still values him, his lab, where he created his life's legacy, which, unlike him, will live forever. Breaking Bad is about the will to survive. In this zero-sum game, the characters are morally tested every step of the way, forced to decide what makes their life worth living, what they can't live with, and what they can't live without, and the price they're willing to pay to maintain that order.
Damn. That is one of the best fucking videos I've seen in a minute, man. That's amazing. That was Breaking Bad, the value of human life. That was a really good video. Really, really good. I fucked with that a lot. If y'all enjoyed that, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And let me know if y'all more videos like these, like how Walter White evolves, and shit like that. So yeah, later.